Excellent. So we're ready to get started with our next panel, and I'd like to welcome to the stage Roy Pereira, Fahri Diner, and Luca Verre. Excellent. So thank you for joining us for this discussion about AI. So I think what I'd like to do to start is to give everyone an opportunity to hear more about what you're doing. And so why don't we go ahead and start with you, and then we'll just go down the line.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jean. So I'm co-founder and CEO of PropheSee. PropheSee, we are a French company. We develop neuromorphic vision systems and sensors which are bio-inspired. So we develop a vision sensor which mimics the eye, and we develop computer vision and AI algorithm which mimic the way the brain processes visual information. So as opposed to conventional cameras which are acquiring information as a sequence of images, our technology, like the eye, like biology, is only acquiring differential information, only the events which are happening in the scene, which enable us to reduce the amount of data, to react extremely fast, and to be independent from light. And we are deploying this technology for autonomous driving, for IoT, and industrial automation.
Very nice.
Okay, I guess I'll go next. My name is Fahri Diner. I am the co-founder and CEO of Plume. Plume is a consumer-facing company, but our constituents are largely internet service providers. We have delivered and developed a cloud and AI-driven service delivery platform for them. As the traditional voice and video subscriptions are declining, internet service providers are under tremendous pressure to offer new services and applications to us, all of us. These are things like new whole home Wi-Fi services, IoT-related services and applications, security-related applications. Some of the largest internet service providers around the globe are now relying on Plume to do exactly that. For example, companies like Comcast, which is the largest service provider in the US, companies like Bell Canada, which is the largest service provider in Canada, are now leveraging Plume to offer a new whole home Wi-Fi service. I am guessing that if you live in the US, probably 1 out of 3 of you will be able to access and already accessing Plume through your service providers like Comcast. From a scale perspective, the company is scaling fast. Just to give you a sense, we will probably, in the very near future, we'll be reaching about 100 million homes at about 10 devices per home. We're looking at about 1 billion devices that we see and understand the behavior of and so on to offer new services and applications. So this is kind of a new space for the broadband service providers. They need to sort of fend off a new generation of internet companies like Amazon and Google, so they're really defending their turf using Plume.
Hi, my name is Roy Pereira. I'm the founder and CEO of Zoom.ai. And what we've done is cloned an executive admin that all CEOs have, and we've taken that functionality and given it to all employees. And we've done it with AI, machine learning, and natural language processing. We're the first enterprise-grade chat-first productivity solution out there. And our main customers are large multinational enterprises, professional services companies. And really what we are is the new intelligent middleware between the new UI, which is chat. Walk around your offices, you'll see everyone on chat, not Outlook or even the browser anymore. But there's an issue. The issue is that there's a gap between the new UI, chat, and the back office applications that we all use in enterprises. On average, every employee has about 20 applications that they have to sign in to be more productive because there's no supporting staff. The problem is that those 20 apps now are making our employees less productive. It's stealing 1/3 to 1/2 of their day. And these are not cheap employees. These are knowledge workers. And so instead of having supporting staff to help out with HR questions or IT questions, we actually are giving them logins to more apps. And so what we've done is automated a lot of those low-value, repetitive tasks that all employees have to do on a daily basis, and we've given them an EA in chat, in their favorite chat application. We support 16 different chat apps, Skype, Microsoft Teams, Slack, and we integrate that and automate that and make it intelligent with AI.
So we have very different segments of AI represented today, which I'm very excited about. And I'm the principal at Toyota AI Ventures Fund, a new ventures fund of $100 million that invests in AI, mobility, and robotics. And so one of the things that has been very exciting to me is to try to understand where the boundaries of AI are. What do you think are kind of the areas that we might be able to extend AI into, given the broad range of areas that you're addressing right now?
I'm not sure there are boundaries, because I think any company, regardless if they're a software company or a car company or a kitchen appliance company, any company that doesn't add artificial intelligence, machine learning into their solution, their product, is probably not going to be around in 10 years' time. It's a fundamental 100x technology that will really change the way that we live and work.
It's a sort of new electricity, in my opinion, right? It's a sort of a new electricity which is going to be everywhere, in every device, in every object, in every... Yeah.
Very cool. Fahri, did you want to add?
Jill, I'm not sure about the boundaries, but let me explain it at least from our view. I'm going to talk a little bit in the context of my world, the opportunities for AI. We're all sort of victims of our own experiences, and our experience is the following. We started with helping people perfect Wi-Fi in the home. We have a ton of subject matter experts in the company on Wi-Fi. But I have to tell you, the people who develop the most sophisticated, most valuable algorithms in our company are young kids out of Stanford who don't know anything about Wi-Fi. They know about data, they understand patterns. And one thing we have learned also over the last couple of years is that probably the single most important element that defines your experience on your Wi-Fi is enabled by us enabling the specific behavior of these devices. So we've kind of noticed that because there's so many devices now out in the world, smart gadgets everywhere, everyone behaves a little bit differently. And if you also understand the patterns and the patterns of how these things over the time react, this creates a tremendous opportunity to turn this into better user experience via optimization, and also understanding the behavior to leverage as a security element. Things that are weird, things that don't make sense, uniquely come up. And this really came up for us by way of our ability to see infinite amount of data and have access to practically infinite amount of storage and compute capability, which is all the foundation of AI.
Yes, absolutely. And so one of the things that has stood out to me is that this is not new in a lot of ways. I mean, you think back to data mining, business intelligence, all these things that we're really looking at different areas of data and trying to come up with some sort of intelligent response to them. What do you think is kind of the next generation that we're going to be, in the next direction that we're going to be taking this understanding of data into? I'm very interested in areas like prediction, for example, and not just looking at historical patterns, but being able to use those historical patterns to determine what will come next in different contexts. Safety clearly being one of them as we look at mobility.
In my opinion, also related to the question you were asking before about the boundaries, there is an established correlation between information and data. Today, the more information we need to take a decision or to predict something, the more data we produce. And if I make the link to what we are doing, which is more related to vision, this is what is happening today when we see applications in autonomous cars, or in robotics, or industrial automation, or in IoT, is that people, in order to make better prediction or to make a stronger informative decision, they need to acquire more information. The way to acquire more information is by generating more images, by generating more frames, and therefore generating more data. And I think the fact that we have been surfing the wave of the Moore's law until recently eased a little bit our thinking about, okay, anyway, there will be the computational power to do that, to process, to do all this data crunching, while in reality, in my opinion, this is going to saturate at a certain point. It's not sustainable, especially if more and more objects will be connected, right? More and more cameras will be connected. 40 billion cameras are expected in the next 2 years and will be sensing the environment. So I think the boundary will be open of AI as soon as we are able to make sensing smarter and break this correlation between information and data, and from the sensing perspective, deliver only the informative data, only the meaningful data.
Yeah. I will also answer that in the context of my world. Again, with service providers, arguably one of the largest costs to any subscription business is churn. If people leave you, then you not only lost that revenue, but you have to acquire new customers, there's a customer acquisition cost, etc. So in that context, in the service provider world, we want to be able to sort of, when people call in, or better yet, predictively and preemptively, identify those customers who are unhappy. Kind of like you want to understand what happened in the past, you want to understand why it happened, but more importantly, the real value is understanding what will happen in the future and how do you make the things that you want to happen. And I'll talk about this in the context of customer service for service providers, for example. So we're using AI, we're using machine learning, we're using prediction and preemption in predicting, sort of to help the service providers understand and figure out the unhappy customers. By the time you call your service provider, even if they solve your problem, you're already a bit pissed off because they transferred you 6 times to the next line and so on. So the idea is to be able to enable them to fix your problems before you call them. And that's a kind of a unique application or a new application of AI in our world for the service providers, which is very valuable for them.
Great.
You know, I agree with what you said. We're seeing a more automation, reactive approach with AI. And I would almost term AI not artificial intelligence today, but augmented intelligence. We're augmenting humans. And in a lot of ways that we do that by taking off their tasks. What we're going to is more of a predictive model where we're anticipating, where we're interjecting and saying, I think you really need this. I think I can help you with that. Let me do that for you. And we're seeing this in our phones where it's telling us it's going to take a half hour for us to get home at 5 p.m. because it thinks we're leaving work at 5 p.m. Sometimes it's a little scary that it knows so much about you. And so that's very beneficial, though, because it takes a lot of those thought processes off of our heads and allows us to think about other things. So right now, that's really not what AI is doing. It's more of the automation, more of the intelligence. But the predictive aspect of AI is phenomenal. And that's the next stage that we're just entering now.
What do you think the role is of emotional intelligence in artificial intelligence? And do you see companies kind of heading in more of that direction where they're really interjecting contextual awareness and appropriateness as AIs are starting to interact with humans more?
We actually have a feature called a meeting briefing. Right before your meeting with someone, it'll actually tell you 2 pages about that person. It's kind of like what you do in the lobby of a building before you go and meet someone that you've never met. You go and Google them. And you're trying to infer little small talk pieces, trying to infer how they act. So we're leveraging AI in terms of what they're writing on the internet to anticipate their behavior, their personality snapshots, and then also interpreting that and giving you advice on how to communicate with them. So we're taking AI and actually looking at the emotional and the personality to create a better conversation.
Well, I mean, in my world, again, it goes back to, I know this sounds a little bit strange, but it's kind of like when you have billions of devices, you sort of figure out that there's a psychology behind them. If you know what, it's not really emotional intelligence, but devices behave differently as we try to. For example, one of the applications is we try to roam you from one access point to another if you're walking around the home. And we speak to these devices from the network. We can suggest that this device does something. We can assist for the device to do something, or we can just force the device to do something. Or we understand that these devices just don't listen to us and we don't bother. So that element is quite interesting. And in a way, it's kind of, we think of ourselves as the Dr. Phil, if you will, of these devices, because an iPhone 6 is very different than a Galaxy S9 in the way that it behaves and connects and disconnects. It has to do with what silicon they have, what software they have, and there's lots of complications and lots of elements. So this is another unique sort of application. I'm not sure it's going to the emotional part of it, looking at the user, but kind of the psychology of devices, and that we're sort of moving in that direction.
I'm not sure I see this convergence between artificial and emotional intelligence, though.
Yes.
Because I believe that artificial intelligence is more a tool, which is a technological tool that has to serve humans, while I think emotional intelligence is something which is belonging to our nature. So I don't see yet this link.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so one more thing I'm very curious about is the value that you place on data and algorithms, and which do you think is more valuable as we're progressing in AI, and also which one do you think is more of a challenge?
Data and
Data and algorithms.
And algorithms.
Yeah, you have the data, you have the algorithm. Weigh them.
Well, you know what they say, garbage in, garbage out. AI, machine learning models can take a lot of garbage in and find, nuggets of gold, let's say. But if the data coming in is of higher quality, it's obviously going to find a lot more interesting information. We live in an information-rich world. Our lives are stored in the cloud. Google knows more about us than our moms, So there's enough data out there. It's very rich. I think what's really interesting right now is with data protection laws around the world, like GDPR in Europe, and the fact that GDPR is really global in nature, we're going to see a change of how we feel about that data, about how much cost we associate with that data that up till now has been free. I don't think it's no longer going to be free.
Yeah, as I said, because it's a new source of electricity, right? So as we are seeing today, the trend to go for clean tech more and more, of course, to go after the oil and gas boom, I think we will soon realize, as you said, that this new source of electricity, which are data, can't be, can't sustainable scale unless we think about a way through algorithm and through meaningful data to make this efficient.
Did you have any comment?
I mean, I think we're out of time, but I'll kind of end with, the data drives our cloud, algorithms drive, are into the data, and our team likes to say it's really caffeine that drives the algorithm. So I think that's kind of the hierarchy.
Great note to end on.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.